Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Ashley, and today I'm going to be giving you my testimony. I was a teen mom. I had our oldest daughter at 15 and our oldest son, Connor Man, I was 17 when I had him. Well, growing up, we didn't really go to church regularly. We knew who God was. We knew, that's who you pray to when times are hard, really. But we didn't ever go to, church regularly. We never had, that firm foundation. Connor was 3 months old, and the parents as teachers that we seen for the kids, she had said her church was sponsoring a teen mom to go to this new camp that was going to be specifically for teen moms and their kids, El Dorado Springs, Missouri, Camp Galilee. So I was like, sure, whatever, I'll go. So I signed up for it. The kids and I, we were both sponsored, and we went. My mom dropped us off, and we were there for a week in a camp with 4 other mamas. So the camp directors, Brad and Janet, they are the ones that felt led to put on this camp. That first year at camp is when I really got introduced to who God truly was and the significance of what it means to have that intimacy with Christ. That first year of camp, I'd like to say that's when I definitely was able to start surrendering to God again. So the following summer, that next year, the kids and I, we were sponsored again, and we went. The second year of camp is when I really would say that I became a believer. Not only was I surrendering my life that year, but that year I was introduced to Shelly, and hearing her story and hearing her testimony and being heartbroken that her and her husband weren't able to conceive, and here I am, a teenager out of wedlock, and felt unworthy to be blessed with 2 beautiful babies. I didn't understand why God chose me to be a mom so young, and not her who was stable and had the means to care for a baby, and yet here I had 2 of them and I was taking it for granted. I wasn't living for Christ. I wasn't not living for Christ. I wasn't doing anything horrible. I was going to school. I graduated. I was doing everything I could to care for these kids, and God chose me to do that. So I kept going back. I went a 3rd year as a camper. That 3rd summer, Janet brought us out to the island, and we were on the island at the cross, and as we walked to the cross, I was walking by Shelly, and we were told to find the most ugly rock you can find and just hold on to that rock as we walk out to the island. As we walked out to the island, we sat down, and Janet had asked us to lay down at the foot of the cross, that rock, and that rock was to stand in the place for our sin that we were holding on to, that we felt unforgiven, unworthy for. And that was for me. I felt unworthy to be a mom. I felt unworthy to have these kids. I felt unworthy because, and I wasn't enough, and wasn't able to share what God really meant for me to do and to be in life, because I was holding on to all that burden, and I was holding on to all that sin and shame. So everybody had already laid their rocks down, and I was still holding on to mine. And Shelly came up behind me and just put her arm around me and just said, "You're forgiven." And right there I felt the presence of God just come over me. And I knew I was forgiven. He chose me to be their mama. I was enough. It didn't matter how old I was. It didn't matter what I was going through. He chose me. And I was forgiven. So I laid the rock down. And, we finished the night and we walked back, and there was a lot that happened that year. So fast forward to the following summer. In the 4th year I went back, and I went back as a counselor. And that year was a year of significance to understand my worth of the role Christ chose for me. I got to minister to some really young girls. I was young at 15 having Madison. One girl was 14 there that summer, and going through a lot. Just, these mamas were hurting. They were broken, and they were in these relationships with boys. Again, obviously nobody's wed, and these mamas were hurting, and it was a tough year. But that year, really, I felt the Lord opening my eyes to what He's called me to do, and to minister to these young women. Yes, they're kids. Yes, they're teenagers. But quickly, in a split second, by decisions we make, you have to grow up. And you become women. And you are now in charge and caring for these little beings, these little blessings. So going through that, these women quickly became my peers. Yes, they were older, but they quickly became my peers, and they quickly became my support system, and people who genuinely loved me and supported me and the kids. So continuing on, fast forwarding again, I met my now husband, AJ, and bless him. It was hard. Not very many guys wanted to take on somebody with 2 kids already. I was going through a divorce as well, and he still loved on me. And so we started going to church. When we started going to church, because again, at that point in my life, I was really just surrendering everything. And I needed him to know that that's where I stood, and I needed that of him. I needed him to love God first before he could love me. So, like I said, we started going to church, and we dated for, 2 years? And then he proposed, and we were engaged a year and got married. So Shelly and Janet really walked me through like our engagement and bridal showers and our wedding, and really were a huge example for what it is to be a wife, what it is to be a parent, parenting together. And so we got married, and then fast forward another year, I had to learn how to be a wife before I was a mother, which is really hard, but everything God designs, it's not always going to be easy, but it's going to be good. Like, we have to go through the dirt and trials to get to the other side, to be able to see his beauty and to see his why and his purpose for us. So, learning to be a wife before I am a mother is still a struggle to this day, and putting my husband before the kids and their needs. Here we are. We've been married 8 years, almost 9 years, and been together 10 years. And we're still walking through this. So about, 2-3 years ago now, AJ came to me and he had said that he had felt called into ministry. And just as I thought I was like on the first stepping stone of being a submissive wife and being learning how to love him like Christ loves him, and not putting all the weight on him as the leader of our household, because that was something else that I still struggle at, is I definitely don't idolize him as my God or anything like that, but I definitely put a lot on him because he's my fix-it guy. Like, I need you to fix this. And I need to go to God before I go to him. So, AJ brought up to me that he felt a calling into ministry. And I wasn't against it, but I wasn't for it. Wasn't against it because that's what I wanted. I wanted this strong, godly man. I wanted this leader. But I wasn't for it because it was scary and it's intimidating. And so then, not only was I having to learn how to be a good wife still, and putting him before the kids still, and I was now having to learn how to be a supportive wife even when I didn't feel or understand his calling. And by that I mean, again, not that I didn't want to be a part of a ministry, but it was his and not mine, and I didn't want to be a part of it. And that's not what God intended, because we both knew that at this point in our lives, that whatever God called us to do, we were doing as a family. I just didn't see it as ministry. I just didn't see ministry being. But that man prayed over us and prayed over us. And slowly, the Lord led to me, yes, ministry is where your family is supposed to be. What it looks like, not 100% sure. So, we're still learning and discovering who Christ is for each of us individually, for us as a couple, for us as parents, and for us as a family unit. Whatever the Lord brings to us continuously. I feel like that's the end of my testimony for right now, because the rest of our testimony we'll be giving, I think it's our next video that we have set up, is our testimony together as a couple, as a marriage, and what that looks like. So without giving too much detail into that, I'm gonna end the video. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please hit the like button. If you haven't already subscribed, subscribe. And if you feel led to share it with somebody else, share away.